How about we warm up with a little chant to let people know why we're here? Elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. Elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. Elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. All right, all right. We'll return to that one. Thanks for coming. My name is Paul George. I'm director of Peninsula Peace and Justice Center, sponsors of today's rally, along with the support of Peninsulans for Corporate Regulation, a local coalition of activists working to ensure that we get the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution to say what? Corporations are not people and money is not speech. And money being speech is exactly what the Supreme Court decided today.
So did the Supreme Court do it to us again today? The five core conservative injustices really screwed us again today. Unfortunately, as most of you may know, this isn't the first time they've done it. Back in the 70s, we had Buckley versus Vallejo. That was when they first started equating money with speech. Later, we had the Bellotti decision. Back in 2010, we had Citizens United, which most of you are all familiar with, and now we get McCutcheon. What the Supreme Court justices are doing with all these decisions, they're building a huge wall between us and our democracy. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying, please, please join me and tear down this wall. Thank you.
There's a billionaire, and look, his pet Supreme Court following along with him. Oh, well, let's give them a moment to see how they're feeling. Oh, look at these, the billionaire and her pet and his pet Supreme Court. Look, she's just adoring the billionaire. Okay, take it away, billionaire.
Hi everybody. I'm Almighty Dollar.
A brilliant argument.
I didn't say anything yet.
A more brilliant argument.
I'm here to ask for you to celebrate with us today what it is a landmark, historic victory for billionaires everywhere. McCutcheon versus the Federal Election Commission. Come on, let's hear it for us.
A fine precedent that will stand for decades.
Well, it'll stand forever. It's a Supreme Court decision, right? I mean, hey, we bought these guys. They work for us. So John Roberts knows what's best for democracy. So at the end of the day, please consider just writing out a check to us, the 1%, directly and avoid all this middleman stuff and rigmarole. I mean, it'd be a lot easier. And at the end of the day, you're just going to like your life a whole lot more with us in charge. Thanks so much.
Oh, a whole lot of love for billionaires here. I can see that. Let's wish them goodbye with an elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. Elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. Elections, not auctions. We demand democracy. All right. I just want you to know you are this town is one of 140 towns around the country in 38 different states holding similar gatherings like this today, put together by Public Citizen. Give them a shout out.
Disclose is critical. I can't agree more. But we at Move to Amend believe that we need to do something more fundamental, and that is to amend the Constitution not only to affirm that money is not speech, but also to affirm that corporations don't have the rights of people. I gotta tell you, the money and speech part, people get. I think the McCutcheon decision is helpful to us in that sense. It publicizes the issue. Many people really get that. The corporations as people, a little bit more difficult. What we did at Move to Amend is we did what every good American political entity does. We formed a PAC. And that PAC is Build Democracy and Corporate Rule. That's the name of our PAC. Bob Lord there has a bunch of petitions, and Jerry And Randy, we have petitions for you to sign if you are a registered voter in the county of Santa Clara. We urge you to sign this petition affirming your support for the amendment that states both that money is not speech and that corporations don't have the rights of people. I'm very hopeful.
The other thing that was very disturbing about the opinion, if you read it, and I did starting at 7 a.m. this morning, John Roberts declared in the majority opinion that influence is not the same as corruption or the appearance of corruption. The whole theory underlying campaign spending limits and donation limits is that it's corrupting, or it gives the appearance of corruption. And that's the last thread that Congress has to try to limit campaign contributions, is the idea of the corrupting influence of money. John Roberts threw that out the front door of the Supreme Court today when he said it is not corrupting, it's influence. He says, influence over or access to elected officials does not give rise to quid pro quo corruption. He says the only corruption is when someone says, here's $50,000, I want you to pass this bill. And the politician says, okay, I'll do it. That's corruption to John Roberts, not here's $50,000. Whenever I want to talk to you, I expect you to answer to the phone. That's just influence. And because these have been Supreme Court decisions, endless decisions, time after time again, declaring that corporations enjoy the rights that you and I as individuals do. Time and time again, the Supreme Court declaring that money equals free speech under the First Amendment. Because those are Supreme Court decisions, there is nothing left for Congress to do to fix this corrupt system but to amend the Constitution. That's what we got to remember. That's what we've got to push for. That's why we're here. That's all that's left, folks, between us and corruption from here to the end of eternity. Amend the Constitution. Corporations are not people. Money is not speech.
I can't tell you how much lives depend on some of these dry things that we call legislation. And I just want to leave you with one bill that was recently mentioned in the San Francisco Chronicle this week in terms of corruption in Sacramento. And this was a bill to regulate a particular chemical that's used in manufacturing that creates buttery artificial flavor in consumer products. It's called diacetyl. And repeated exposure to diacetyl obliterates lung tissue. And it leaves low-wage workers, almost all of whom are women and minorities and immigrants, with completely destroyed lungs, and their only option to live is to get a lung transplant. That bill was killed in a very, very obvious way that the industry was clearly involved in and clearly exerting influence. And it took 4 years for the state bureaucracy to step in and to decide to regulate diacetyl. Now, what would we say to all of the people who were exposed during those 4 years? Oh, I'm sorry, but the flavoring industry wanted to make an extra buck. It's just not good enough. It's not good enough. We need to be the people who step up every day. And if there's one thing that you can do, it doesn't matter if it seems like the smallest thing in the world. It doesn't matter if it's clicktivism. If you post it on Facebook and you don't get any comments, people still saw it. If you write a letter to the editor and the newspaper doesn't publish it, you can be sure that the editor of the newspaper saw that letter and they're going to take it into account when they determine their editorial position. We've got to keep on doing things every single day. And there are lives of people that we will never meet who depend on it. If we went out and we talked to the family of that factory worker who's exposed to diacetyl day after day after day to make microwave popcorn. And we said, there are 100 people, there are 150 people in Palo Alto tonight who thought specifically of you. We wanted to keep your husband alive. We wanted to keep your wife alive. We wanted your children to have parents. They would break down in tears. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. That's the power that each of us has to create change. Nothing is too small. Nothing is too small. Please take that forward. There are a million things that we can do, and you've absolutely started it by coming here tonight. So thank you, thank you, thank you for doing that on behalf of so many people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you. I was going to wrap up with a call to action, but I think I'll let it go right there because that was wonderful. Well, we've got to be doing something every day or our democracy is surely done. Thank you for coming. Amend the Constitution.